Well, this is a really red letter day, because here's an orchid which I've never seen in Northumberland before. I've known it's been here, but I've never been to see it. This is Bog Orchid, Hammerbaya pallidosa. Pallidosa means it's a plant that grows in wet places, not necessarily windy places. And it's a tiny plant. I guess the one in front of me is 4 centimetres tall. Never grows much more than 10 to 12 centimetres, and those are pretty big ones. It's usually, in fact always found in very boggy areas. It likes to have its feet in sphagnum if it's possible, but not stagnant areas. It likes to have a little bit of flow of water, and this one's on a very slight slope in a rather boggy patch. You can probably see from the knees of my trousers I got a bit wet looking at it. It's a most fascinating plant. The leaves are quite hooded, really bright lime green colour, and they very often, and this one actually does, have little bulbils on the edges of the leaves, and what those are tiny little bulblets almost, and that's one of the methods this plant has of reproducing. It's probably in fact its favoured method out here where there aren't very many insects, and those little bulbils fall off and they probably blow about a bit in the wind and will settle on another boggy patch, and if the bulbil can find the right fungus to make a partnership with, then you may get another bog orchid in that place growing from that bulbil. It doesn't take its own fungus with it. All orchids have to have a mycorrhizal fungus of some sort which allows them to absorb nutrients, and this one does that, but they don't transfer. The fungus doesn't transfer with the bulbils. It has to find the fungus successfully in order to form a new plant. Some other orchids do. Fell orchid, that will take its fungus with it, and so in some ways it's much more successful. This is called Hammerbaya pallidosa. Linnaeus, the great Carl Linnaeus, called it Ophrys pallidosa. He thought it was related to bee orchids. It wasn't far wrong, but it got moved into another genus by a German botanist called Kunze, and so he changed the name, and it's called Hammerbaya because Linnaeus's summer home in Sweden is Hammarby in Swedish, and that's why this plant has that name. It's in recognition of Linnaeus's summer home. I don't know whether this grows near Hammarby in Sweden. I've been there, but I didn't see any bog orchids. So it's a lovely plant. I'm not going to tell you exactly where it is. Hopefully the Natural History Society will organise some field trips in due course and perhaps come and see this plant. It's not the sort of plant you're going to fall over every day and yes, somebody takes you to a place where it's known to grow. It's really very difficult to see even when you do know it's there. So this is Hammerbaya pallidosa, the bog orchid.